The dawn unfurled silently over the boundless plains of Kruger National Park in South Africa, where the first rays of sunlight pierced the misty veil, bathing each blade of lush green grass in a golden glow. A gentle breeze wove through the air, blending with the cheerful chirping of birds to create a vibrant symphony of nature. Near the edge of the savanna where the forest began, low bushes tangled with moss-draped gray rocks and a lion cub frolicked with boundless energy. Its tiny legs stumbled clumsily yet brimmed with life, its bright eyes gleaming with innocent delight as it tumbled around its mother's feet. The lioness, her golden coat aglow in the morning light, lounged on the grass, her eyes half-lidded as she watched her cub. Her fur rippled softly in the wind, and her long tail flicked now and then, as though she were lost in the tranquil reverie of the morning. For days, this patch of savanna had been their temporary sanctuary, a wide, safe haven to rest after grueling hunts, yet near enough to the forest for shade as the sun climbed higher. The cub delighted in scampering over the low rocks, occasionally tumbling into the grass only to leap up with an eager yelp. The lioness watched in quiet vigilance, her ears twitching at every unfamiliar sound, the distant rustle of leaves, the faint snap of a twig, or the deep roar of a solitary male lion echoing from the woods. Yet her gaze softened whenever it settled on her cub. To her, this little lion was everything. Her joy, her pride, and her reason to endure the unforgiving wilds of the plains. That morning, as the lioness dozed beneath the shade of a low bush, the cub's eyes caught on a tall, solitary tree rising from the grasslands. Its rough, cracked bark, cloaked in green moss, stood like a guardian over the savanna. Stirred by youthful curiosity, the cub crept toward it. Ears perked as it attuned itself to every sound. The tree seemed to beckon, daring it to climb, and in its young mind, the notion of scaling its heights to survey the vast world took hold. It glanced back at its mother, who lay dreaming with half-closed eyes, her tail still. Convinced she wouldn't stir, the cub resolved to embark on its own adventure. Pressing its paws against the trunk, the cub dug its tender claws into the dry bark. It climbed slowly, legs trembling but eyes blazing with determination. The wind swept past, carrying the scent of parched grass and the rustle of high branches, causing it to wobble slightly. Yet the thrill of youth eclipsed any fear. It yearned to climb higher, to perch atop and glimpse the antelope herds grazing in the distance or the eagles soaring overhead. Tales its mother often rumbled about as they rested beneath the moonlight. Reaching a modest height, the cub paused, drawing a deep breath as a swell of pride bloomed in its chest. It gazed up at the slender branches swaying in the breeze, feeling, for a fleeting moment, like the ruler of the savanna. But the triumph was short-lived. A sharp crack pierced the air as the brittle branch beneath it gave way under its slight weight. Before it could react, the limb split, and the cub lost its grip, claws flailing as it plunged downward. Its small body struck the soft grass below with a dull thud, shattering the morning's peace. A roar of anguish erupted from the lioness, slicing through the stillness. She bolted from her slumber, powerful legs propelling her to her cub, her wild eyes wide with dread. The cub lay curled on the grass, whimpering faintly, its hind legs quivering as it struggled to rise. A jolt of pain shot through its body, forcing it back down. Blood seeped from a small gash, staining its pale golden fur with dust and crimson. The lioness lowered her head, licking the swollen leg tenderly to soothe its suffering. But the injury was graver than she'd hoped. The grass hadn't cushioned the fall enough, and the cub's eyes clenched shut, its breaths growing shallow and faint. Watching her cub writhe, the lioness unleashed low, guttural roars, a desperate plea for aid. She paced around it, sniffing the air for any sign of hope. Guided by maternal instinct, she knew she couldn't mend it alone in this state. In the vast savanna, ruled by the merciless law of survival, one faint chance remained: humans. Those strange beings she'd glimpsed from afar, with their rumbling machines and uncanny healing powers. Without hesitation, she bent down, grasping her cub gently in her sharp yet careful jaws, lifting it with care to spare it further pain. She began to walk. The lioness's journey was arduous. Each step strained her sturdy frame as she balanced her precious burden. Her keen eyes locked ahead toward the trails where humans often roamed. The cub whimpered faintly now and then, each sound piercing her heart like a thorn. Its head sagged, ears flattened, but its weak, steady breaths fueled her resolve. She wouldn't relent. She knew Kruger's rangers patrolled this region at dawn, and they were her cub's only hope. In the distance, A green patrol truck rumbled along a rugged red dirt road. Tabo, a black ranger with a warm smile and keen eyes, gripped the wheel. Clad in khaki, his cap shielding him from the blazing sun. He'd spent over a decade in Kruger, mapping its every secret from hidden streams beneath tree canopies to the open expanses where elephant herds roamed. That day, he and his 3 teammates, Sifui, Nality, and Johan, were on routine patrol, chatting about a herd of elephants they'd spotted earlier while scanning the road for signs. Antelope hoofprints, leopard claw marks, or anything out of place. Tabo remained ever watchful in the wild. He'd witnessed its wonders, sunrises over watering holes, zebras sipping at dusk, and its perils, from charging rhinos to losing his way in dense woods. For him, this work was more than safeguarding wildlife. It was a bridge between humanity and nature, a calling he held dear. As the truck rounded a curve, Tabo stiffened, hands tightening on the wheel. A large figure approached, a lioness, moving slowly yet with purpose. He signaled his team to quiet, his hand hovering near the stun stick and pepper spray he always carried. Lions nearing vehicles often meant danger, and tension rippled through the crew. Sifui murmured, "Get ready." She might be starving. But Tabo shook his head, sensing something amiss. When the truck halted, Tabo's gaze fixed on the lioness. She carried a cub in her jaws, and it looked frail, barely stirring. Its head hung limp, hind legs dangling lifelessly. The rangers fell silent, their hearts clenching at the rare sight. The lioness paused a few yards away, her golden eyes meeting theirs. Then, with deliberate care, she lowered her cub before the truck. Her stare held no threat, it was a supplication. Tabo drew a steadying breath, grasping her intent. He turned to his team, whispering, "She needs us. Grab the med kit, but wait for my lead." He eased the door open and stepped out, hands raised to signal peace. Sifui and Nality followed, fanning out at a safe distance, gripping their gear, poised for trouble. Johan, the youngest, lingered by the truck, breathing fast, eyes locked on the lioness. Yet she didn't lunge. She stood by her cub, occasionally licking its blood-streaked fur as if to comfort it. Tabo edged closer to the cub, steps light as though treading on fragile ground. He knelt a yard away, studying it intently. The injury was evident, a swollen, bruised hind leg marked with small, bleeding cuts. Dirt and grass clung to its matted fur, suggesting a harsh fall. The lioness growled softly, not a threat, but a plea, "Save him." Sweat beaded on Tabo's brow, his shirt clinging damply, but he kept his composure. One misstep could provoke her. He waved Nality over with the med kit and began his work. Pressing a hand to the cub's chest, he felt a faint but steady heartbeat and exhaled in relief. It lived. Gently, he lifted the injured leg, inspecting each part, thigh, shin, tiny paw, for fractures. The cub whimpered at every touch, eyes squeezed shut, trembling in pain. Tabo murmured to Nality, poised with the kit, "No breaks, but it's serious. Likely fell from a height." She nodded, retrieving saline, antiseptic, gauze, and a syringe of painkiller. Tabo started by cleaning the wound, pouring saline over the swollen leg and wiping away crusted blood and dirt with soft gauze. The cub flinched, emitting a small cry, and Tabo paused, gauging the mother's response. She growled low, ears alert, but held her ground, as if wrestling her instincts to trust him. He pressed on, methodical and calm. Dabbing antiseptic onto fresh gauze, he cleaned the cuts, the sharp scent cutting through the air. The cub whined louder, twitching, and Tabo whispered, "Hold on, little one. You'll be fine." He glanced at the lioness, her piercing eyes tracking his every move. The tension hung heavy, yet so did the fragile trust from this wild creature. Once the wound was cleansed, Tabo checked again for hidden damage. Palpating the leg's muscles, he felt a firm swelling, internal bleeding. He turned to Sifui, "Get the cold spray from the kit. We need to ease the swelling before bandaging." Sifui passed him a small can, and Tabo applied a thin layer over the bruise. The cub shivered at the chill, but its pain seemed to lessen slightly. Next, he wrapped the leg with clean gauze, securing it firmly yet gently, stabilizing the injury without aggravating it. He kept an eye on the lioness, ensuring her calm held. After finishing, he tested the leg lightly, no sharp cries. Just a soft whimper, and the cub's eyes flickered open, a hint of awareness returning. Finally, Tabo prepared the painkiller, a mild dose for wildlife, enough to dull the agony without sedation. He swabbed a spot on the cub's rump with alcohol, then administered the shot. The cub jolted with a faint yelp, but Tabo steadied it, completing the injection and rubbing the site to disperse the medicine. Moments later, the cub's breathing eased, steadied by the drug's relief. Tabo leaned back, wiping his brow, a grin breaking across his face as he nodded to his team. Done. He'll make it. Sifui clapped softly. You're a legend, Tabo. Naledi smiled. Coolest head I've ever seen. Johann, still by the truck, exhaled. I was sure she'd charge. After nearly 2 hours, the cub stirred, eyes fully open, breaths deepening. Tabo checked its pulse again, smiling as it grew stronger. He met the lioness's gaze as if to say, I've done all I can. He rose, signaling his team to step back and give them room. The cub struggled to its feet, wobbly but steadier, and pressed against its mother for support. She nuzzled it, coaxing it onward. Tabo and his crew watched as the pair melted into the golden grass. A quiet awe settled over him, a fleeting, magical bond between man and nature, a memory etched forever in his mind. Sifui clapped his shoulder. You nailed it, Tabo. Never thought I'd witness this. Naledi nodded. It's like something divine. Back in the truck, Tabo logged the encounter, time, location, the cub's condition, for the Kruger report. He knew full recovery would take days. But with its mother's devotion and their timely help, the cub would thrive. As the engine purred through the silent plains, Tabo glanced in the rearview mirror. The lions long vanished behind distant shrubs. That day, tales of Tabo, the steadfast ranger with a boundless heart, and the courageous lioness rippled through Kruger. Visitors marveled, and colleagues murmured of the extraordinary scene. It stood as a testament to unwavering love, remarkable bravery, and a bond that bridged the chasm between humanity and the wild. In Tabo's heart, the image of the lioness laying her cub at his feet would endure, a poignant reminder that even the fiercest souls sometimes need a helping hand.